On today's episode of the DeRaud Messenger Show, we make our 4A through 1A Texas high school football preseason state title picks. High school football fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated and helps us keep on going, which is always great doing, especially when we're talking about high school football. Everybody loves high school football. Now, 4A, all the small schools doing, this is where it gets interesting. There's a little bit more of a battle, a little bit more of a dogfight going on. 4A D1 is where we start with this dogfight. Who do you got?
Yeah, I just want to set the stage really quickly. You got China Springs who won it last year, Devon. The question is, can they do it a third time? And it's not just your typical like three-peat. They won 4A D2, Carthage's own division. So that's already incredibly unlikely to win out of there. Then after winning that championship, they went up to 4A D1. I picked Stephenville to win last year over them.
I think I
They ended
probably
up
did
winning
too.
again, like we just talked about. Yeah, well, that just didn't go very well. And then ultimately, Devin, I have them winning again. I think it's theirs to lose here, just with the amount of talent they've got. They're losing pieces though, just foundationally, but they still have quarterback Cash McCollum and they still have running back Kyle Barton. You've got those two guys that have that experience in winning games. Obviously, uh, you can really kind of ride the coattails of those dudes and just ultimately, I think, win out again. I mean, competition wise, you've got five teams that I think are in contention. You got Decatur, Stephenville, Tyler Chapel Hill, and Bourne, along with obviously China Springs at the top,
Bernie.
Devin. So Bernie, well, that's great. But um
We
but
always
yeah,
get
so
a mispronunciation
gotta
somewhere
yeah,
quick in there.
I
We got
get
it out of
one.
the way.
Everybody gets one. So I got China Springs here just to wrap it up before I start mispronouncing their name
You're
too.
cut off on them. It's pretty early in the video, so I'm not feeling too great on that. But no, Dylan. Despite that, I'm gonna call you a genius. You know why? Because I'm making that same pick. Now, come December, will we still be geniuses? Yeah, it's very debatable. I guess we'll see. But I also have China Spring. I just put, can they win their third title in a row? Not many teams have the chance to do that. Of course, as Dylan, illustrated, they've been pretty impressive as of late this past couple years. And like Dylan said, returning starter wise, not too impressive in terms of just sheer numbers, not talent. But they have 10 returners, which it's like, it's decent, but there are teams that have more, depth that has come back from past years. But UNT commit quarterback that Dylan mentioned, Cash McCollum, is still there, Dylan. He has a lot of experience under his belt now. I got China Spring in this one, but it might get interesting. Now at 4AD2, Dylan, I'll go ahead and just take this one because I know where you're gonna go with this one. So I'm
What?
just gonna get out of the way. Dylan is a homer for this team, and rightfully so.
Mm.
I mean, if there's a team to be a homer for, it's this one. I got Carthage. They're also ranked number one. Both these teams have been ranked number one in their own classification. Over the years, I've learned not to bet against the Bulldogs, which is what I wrote in my notes. You know,
Yeah.
I'm Dylan. I see you're trying to get in there. I am staking that I've repented. I've made up for it. I've apologized years ago, so I should be held for that. But they have 9 state titles, and it's just been state title after state title in this turn of the century. And as long as Scott Surratt is the head coach, I'm pledging to not pick against them. Of course, I might take that back later, but it is going to be hard doing. Why is it going to be hard for Carthage? You might
Mm.
know this already. I'm sure you're going to talk about it. But they are losing some key pieces. Quarterback Connor Cuff is no longer there. Wide receiver Noah Patty is no longer there. That's going to be a challenge to, of course, come up with that production that they're missing. But yet again, if I'm going to place my bets on a coach in high school football, it's going to be Scott Surratt. So, Dylan, you like
Yeah.
my Carthage pick?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and you can't really, it's so hard going into because it's kind of like when you look at 4AD2, you're just like, well, Carthage is basically like the 2017, 2018 Golden State Warriors. It's very hard to like kind of pick the flaws here. And also just the biggest strength is that culture that they've got built up. I mean, they went 16-0 last year. And I know Devin, with your pedigree, you're always kind of trying to pry open any weaknesses in the Carthage's game,
Oh,
just to
100%.
pick
Yeah.
somebody else. Yeah, yeah. And it just hasn't been there. Obviously, though, the question marks at quarterback with Jet Surratt being the new quarterback going into this, Devin, that's an iffy part of it, right? Just to see the inexperience with the new quarterback, but they still got KD Matlock at running back, along with Larandian Dowden, Devin. So this is still a team that I'd ride that to the end,
Uh,
right? Just to win it
I mean,
out. But
it's the team. You put a good bet in early and it's paid off, so I can't.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and Pleasant Grove is still there for the takings, Devin. I bet that they're your sleeper pick there at number 3. But again, just with what Carthage has been able to do, and not to go on an entire tangent, I think they're the safe bet. But Silsby is not somebody to count out at all, Devin. They've got, one of the best wide receiver tandems in the state with Ashton Cartwright and Draylon Miller. So it's a team offensively that could maybe stack up, but just consistency at quarterback, I don't know if it's going to be able to overcome Carthage this season.
Yeah, so Silsby was your sleeper. Yeah.
No, no, I just
Oh,
want to say
just
they're sitting at
some
number 2.
competitors. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so
I got ahead of
team to
myself.
consider, but
Yeah. Well, my sleepers,
sleeper at number 2.
Dylan did
Yeah.
spoil a little bit. I don't think it's really a sleeper. Maybe I'm just trying to start the attention that I always do in the videos. But I do have Pleasant Grove on that list. And
Interesting.
they have 17 returning starters along with a lot of D1 talent. Now, that's the case pretty much most years for Pleasant Grove. So that might not work in, my favor. But they typically don't have so many returners. So that is what I could stake on. But of course, they weren't my title pick, guys. I'm just saying they're sleeper. Don't be surprised though if they do hoist a trophy, But my other sleepers, number 8, Anna. They went 13-1 last season and returned 14 starters. Obviously, a good combo there. And then also number 9, Waco Connolly. You got defensive back Kobe Black, one of the best players in the state of Texas, especially in that secondary, and 16 returning starters. So those are the teams to watch out for. Waco Connolly, yet again, being the 9th ranked team in the state. And it is hard. We talked about it in our last picks video for the big schools. If you're not ranked pretty high up, it's not, of course, impossible. That's you're playing to, of course, we'll try to win a championship. But if you're not ranked top 5, it's pretty, darn difficult. But Dylan, who are your
Yeah.
sleepers?
No, no, for sure. And with my sleepers, I've got, like you said, Devin, number 8, Anna. They'll have to find solid players just to replace their QB and running backs from last year. But with wide receiver Jacob Emmers, I think they've got a shot to go pretty deep in the playoffs and give people a run for their money with just the experience they have. But again, with just having to find a replacement at quarterback and running back, I can see why they'd be at the number 8 spot going into the season. And then for my last one, I've got number 10, Jasper, in the 4A D2 circuit. Their defense could be a unit, Devin, that leads them to 9+ wins, but it's their offense that you got to kind of worry about, especially with returning their entire defense from last year after a 7-4 season. So the experience is there. So it's not going to be easy to move the ball against this team. But again, it's going to be tough with Carthage sitting up there at the top.
Oh, 100%. Now moving to 3A, 3A D1. No surprises here. Another team I like to pick, but also, not always. I'm not as homery as I can be for some of the other teams, admittedly. Number 2, Brock. Now, Brock is in a tricky 3A D1 that really I had some tough times just looking at the list and trying to, basically just I was suffering doing. In all honesty, trying to pick a winner in this one. It is tricky because Franklin is the favorite. That is what I wrote down. Franklin is the favorite. I believe they're still the top-ranked team, but they are losing some star power. They still have some great players. That's why they're, of course, ranked number 1. But Bryson Washington was a beast in UIL State, for the past couple years. Now, with that being said, Brock does have 14 returning starters and fell just shy of a title last year. Can they, pick up what they had last year and just take that extra step? We'll see. But I do have Brock. I didn't want to go number 1 picks all the way, Dylan. I need some seeds that were lower than the number 1. But what are you feeling in 3A D1?
Yeah, I like the mental note that you make because it's like, oh, don't hurt yourself again. Franklin's number 1. Don't hurt yourself again. And, I guess I'm addicted to pain because I picked Brock along with you, Devin. So we're in this together yet again.
There we go.
I like the returning 14 starters again. They won 11-5, Devin. And the first 4 games of the season, they lost them all. So it was very much like
a good start.
Looks like, yeah. Now someone's.
It's kind of the Alito effect,
on the
right?
wagon.
Was it Alito we were talking about? Yeah. If you lose a couple early, if you got good, non-district games, it's not over.
No, not at all. But there's still question marks just with the team of like
100%.
Brock's caliber. That's usually starting the season pretty well. But this year, I'm going to look to fix my broken heart. Again, no knock to Franklin, especially since they won last year. Very hard to repeat though, unless you're a program that just wins year in and year out. And I think Brock has the talent here, and just coming off of the momentum from last year, I think they've got a real shot at winning it. And I'm gonna pick them again.
All right, in 3AD2, I went a little more of a hot take here. This is where I'm definitely not as
Mm.
confident as I have been with these
Mm.
last picks. I got number 9, Dangerfield. That might be like a sleeper for Dylan, but I'm picking them as a title pick. Because 3AD2, honestly, yet again, small schools, everything is open. I think this class is even maybe more open than some of the others. They're returning 16 starters, including senior wide receiver. That's where I'm going to accidentally, of course, mispronounce the name. I apologize. Aaron, I'm going to say Aaron Hampton, big time recruit in high school football, but with that returning talent that's coming back, it's of course going to be more than just a star player. And I wrote literally that they have a bit of a long shot, Dylan. I'm emphasizing this point, but number 9 still within reach. But we just warned you guys about picking outside the top 5, so
Yeah.
take what I'm saying here to heart. But there are many question marks at this level. And Canadian, I believe Dylan, is ranked number 1
Mm.
again, and they are the favorite to win it all. But as Dylan's saying, I like to find things about these teams that I can just knock them for, even if they don't deserve to be knocked. Canadian is without their head coach, at least prior head coach, because, congrats to him, he has retired. Chris Cotting, if I am mispronouncing it again, my apologies, but, the coach has retired, and so it's a new coaching staff, at least at the top. Maybe they made an internal promotion, which I'm sure they did. But there is going to be some differences. We saw this at Westlake last year. You can still maintain a high level of play, but when it comes to later, time in the year, it is difficult to repeat with even a little change. So I do have Dangerfield in this one. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I like the Dangerfield pick, Devin. I'm going to go to the very tippy top here and go with Canadian winning it all. I think, like you said, it is difficult with a new head coach coming in, but just with the talent that they've got with Cameron Cavalier, Devin, he's doing threw over 3,000 yards last year. Like this isn't you don't just fall off of that from the year prior, right? Especially just with the new head coach. So if the coach understands how to get him involved, make sure he makes the right plays, uh, sky's the limit here, especially when you're throwing it to Preston Miller. So again, I like Canadian. Dangerfield here is actually one of my sleepers that I guess we'll talk about in a bit. But I just didn't think that they were going to be a team that would be making that large of a jump, especially considering the talent with like Gunter and Harmony that are sitting right under Canadian. So this was definitely a tough one for me between those three, but ultimately I just like the situation there at quarterback for Canadian, and I think that's just going to transfer over no matter who the head coach is.
Yeah, no, definitely understandable. I was very tempted to pick Canadian, and I used my one excuse to not pick them.
Mm,
So
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah.
Yeah, Dangerfield. Hey, they might shock, but no guarantees, of course. There now 3A sleepers. I'm gonna just start with this. I got number 6 Lorena. Of course, they were
Mm.
at AT&T a couple years ago. They returned 15 starters and still have star talent that is still remaining from those teams. And then I got number 6 Wall. 17 returning starters, pretty good. When you got a max 22. I don't know. I'm feeling those two picks down. Who do you got sleepers?
Yeah, my first one I had Hitchcock Bulldogs. Again, they're returning around 19 starters. Devin, they won 11-2 last year. They're bringing back everybody. I just think with the offense they've got, they can make a really good push for it all, and they've got a defensive front um, that I think is going to be able to get to the quarterback. So this isn't going to be necessarily a team that you can just look past up in the 3A division, right? So I really like what they're capable of going into this season. And then, like you highlighted earlier with Dangerfield, Devin, I mean, with Chase Johnson, this is a team that they're sitting at 9. I think it's a little low, right, for them. Like I think they've got a legitimate shot. But these top three teams, it's going to be
It's
very hard to overcome. But I like Dangerfield's ability to maybe make a state finals run, right, to be there at the end.
No, I definitely agree. And like you said, the top teams are definitely on their own perch. So yet again, we might think Dangerfield might be slightly underrated here, but the top group definitely has proved why they are up there. So until we
Yeah.
see otherwise, there's no real reason to knock them other than my
And
retirement
that's
research. But
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing with these teams. Like it's like if they've had recent success, like that's just, and we'll probably get into it with like 1A D1 too. But like if they've got a culture of winning, it's very hard to go outside of the box there and pick teams when they've had no prior success.
yeah, especially in these small schools. Of course, we see it in the big schools too, where we do see a lot of maybe repeat champs. But here, it seems like the last 5 years, it's always been the same. Couple teams that are competing for a spot. Now,
Yeah.
speaking of those, a team that Dylan didn't like to pronounce, at least at the start. I think he's got it down now. I'm gonna go
I'm
two
warmed
A
up. I'm warmed up now.
2A D1 number one
Let's go.
Refugio.
Let's go. Yeah.
Of course, head coach Jason Herring is still there. Now, yet again, we're talking about coaches not to bet against. He is one of them. And he returns wide receiver Ernest Campbell, along with 17 starters. But I did put a note, Dylan. Timpson is threatening. They have been, great,
Good
as you
note.
said, Dylan, in terms of like these small schools. Consistency is key. Timpson has been great and, playing at such a high level for the past couple years. Refugio, I think, is back. I'm picking them. Who do you got in 2AD1?
Yeah, I love me some Refugio, Devin. But again, I looking back from last year, I picked Timpson to win it all, and that it came close, didn't happen, but I think this is the year. I'm gonna stake my flag on Timpson Island, and we'll see how the season goes. But I truly do believe that they have a great shot of winning it. I love the talent, especially in the skill positions, just around this team. I think that to just run by everybody, right? It's a simple take, but like it is a fast team. It is not an easy team for defenses to go up against. And I think they're going to be in the way of Holly repeating and your boys at Refugio even sniffing the state title here, Devin.
Okay, okay, hot takes here. 2AD2, trying to avoid Dylan's craziness over there. Number two, Mart. Now, yet again, Mart is a just championship caliber program. They didn't get it done last year, but yet again, don't bet against these head coaches. Kevin Hoffman returns 13 starters from a 15-win squad last year. I'm gonna pick Mart. I've had some years where I've picked against them and it's burned me. I'm not gonna do it here. Dylan, 282.
Yeah, this was a weird one. I liked Albany last year, but I will also be going with Mart this year, Devin. This is a team that, again, consistently, especially when we started doing this podcast, year in, year out, they were at the top, hard to pick against. I love the experience they have this year coming off of last year's. Not necessarily totally disappointing, but didn't ultimately finish the way they would have wanted to, right? And I think this is going to be the year that they bounce back for it.
Yeah, of course. And then sleepers here yet again. There's a lot of teams that can compete at the smaller level. Compared to some of the bigger classifications, it's as we talked about at the beginning of the video, you got 4 or 5 real contenders. Once you get to the smaller schools, you do have those teams that are gonna win seemingly no matter what, Dylan. But you do have a couple of sleeper picks that creep in and almost play some sort of foil. But 2A sleepers, I got number 11 Sonora, returning 16 starters. And I got number 11 Wink. Of course, the two separate classifications in 2A there, which is why I got them ranked the same. But Wink, 17 returners. Dylan, what about you?
Yeah, I've got Centerville sitting at number 7 for the 2A D1. I like their chances with 12 returning starters. They were a 10-win team last year. This is a team that has been fairly consistent, middle of the pack. Pretty recently, they've been making more leaps and bounds upwards, and we've started to talk about them more. I think it's one of those years where they can make a run at it, especially just with a three-headed monster in Refugio, Timpson, and Howley at the top. I think this is the year that Centerville could kind of jump in there, maybe have their name thrown around a bit come the playoffs. And then the other side of it, Devin, I've got the Burton Panthers. This is a team with running back Tyrone Gilman, who also lines up as a defensive end, Devin. So this is a guy that not many people are going to want to tackle. And with 14 returning starters and a 13-win season last year, I think they have a really good shot at making some noise.
All right, all right, all right. Now we're at our favorite classification. I think that's a fair point to say.
Yeah.
They might be the small schools, but they're not small in our heart. 1A D1. Here we go. I'm just still on the bandwagon, Dylan. I haven't left. I was the founder of the bandwagon. I'm still on. Number 1, Westbrook. I put they were a bully last year. That's just plain and simple. They're the mean kid on the block, Dylan, and in 1A, you got a mean kid on the block. You don't want to try to mess with them. Now,
Yeah.
Westbrook, of course, last year yet again bully on their way to a title. It was just some massacres, if I'm being honest. And the only question now is if their 6 returners are enough. We're gonna see. I mean, that's 6 returning starters. Dylan, you don't want to mess with that. But of course, some of the smaller schools do have more. This is 6-man football, so you got 6 on both sides. There are some that maybe have 8 or 9 back with only half of the roster that's returning. We'll see, but that's not like a deficit per se either. There are teams that have competed and won championships with less than half of their guys back. So, can Westbrook reload? 6 guys with experience. I'm gonna bet in their favor.
Yeah, they're one of those teams where it's like trying to find a chink in their armor. They had one loss during the season, Devon, where I think it was like, oh, we might have something here. And then Gordon will jump out to you with 5 returning players on offense and 6 on defense. So that's a team with experience. They could make a run at it. I picked Abbott last year, but ultimately I think Westbrook is him, Devon. I hope you have enough room on that bandwagon because I will be hopping on this year to Westbrook yet again winning, I believe, in the 1AD1.
Nice. Now we got 1AD2, which is where we really love life. We got Dylan. You probably know what I'm going to say here. I'm not going to let you say it, but number 3, Balmarea.
Let's go.
We just love Balmarea. Represent. They're routinely consistent. Yet again, that's been the theme of this video. I wrote down routinely consistent, returning 10 starters, which, like I said, Westbrook, I still have them winning the one class up with 6. Balmarea returns 10. Gives them about as good of a chance as anyone in this class. We're big fanboys. Of course, we're fair. But when we need to be a fanboy, we definitely give credit where it's due. I got Balmarea. Dylan, what do you think? Am I crazy?
Yeah, no, I have Balmarea too. I picked him last year, did not win. But again, I'm not somebody that's going to learn from his mistakes. I'm just going to go right back into it. But I don't even think it was a mistake. All right, I'm just kidding. But I love what they're returning experience-wise. 10 returning starters. 14-win season last year. Ultimately, Benjamin was inevitable last year, playing extremely well. But they're only returning 4 starters, Devin, from last year. I think this is Balmarea's year. Finally shine. And they're taking it home. And we'll get Balmarea hats. And we'll go to Balmarea. We'll do a photo shoot.
Party
We'll have a great
Balmarea.
time. Right?
Okay, well, with your gas money, we will. But
Okay.
1A sleepers, gotta love them. Dylan is definitely gonna have one of these teams on his list. I guarantee it. Number 6, Knox City is my first one. 12 returners, yet again. That's perfect in 6-man football. They're going to be a threat this year. And then I got the team that Dylan's going to have on his list, undoubtedly, because he likes to say the name. I got Klondike, 10 returners. Now, if he doesn't pick them, I'm kind of shocked. I think I had to go a little bit down that list to find it. But who do you got? Sleepers.
I actually have one lower, Devin. I got Newcastle.
Oh, okay.
I like the returning 12 starters. And I think this is a year that they could bounce back. Klondike, I do love Klondike because of the puns that we make, however cringe they
that's
may
all
be.
you. I can't take credit.
I still remember that one episode where I think all our 1A picks were just purely
It was great.
puns.
It was
so
a great episode.
that happens. Yeah, we probably have never financially recovered from that decision.
No.
But I like Newcastle and Klondike. Klondike let me down in a lot of instances last year, Devin, and I'm not going to forget that. So this is their year to redeem themselves, and I'm glad you're putting your hat in the ring with them. But
on
again,
the sleeper train, yeah.
yeah. And then on the flip side, Devin, the team that I've liked a lot, and I think people are going to be sleeping on them because they've only got 3 returning starters, only 1 on offense. But I'll be going with the May Tigers. They were 8-2 last year, but I think this is the year that they bounce back. And they really give Westbrook a run for their money, as well as Abbott and Gordon. So I'm going with May as my sleeper in the 1A Division 1.
All right. Now there are picks in our sleepers. That was almost like a lightning round. I know there's a lot of teams to cover and not too much time. But who do you guys have winning these classifications? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And, of course, have a great rest of your day.